Imagine this. What if I told you that the shadow you see in the dark isn't yours? What if something else is standing there watching you, feeling every move you make? Tonight's story is about that very presence, and once you hear it, you won't dare blink till the end. This is Whisper from History, where forgotten voices rise again. He stands in the corner of countless dreams, a tall figure with a hat pulled low over his eyes, motionless, silent, watching. For decades, people across continents have spoken of him. Different cultures, different tongues, but always the same outline. A dark man in a wide brim hat, his presence felt not seen, his silence heavier than any scream. It began quietly in the early 20th century. Reports emerging from rural towns in the American Midwest, miners, railway workers, and mothers tending oil lamps in wooden farmhouses, all telling the same tale. A shadow taller than any man, lingering by the doorway, disappearing when met with a trembling stare. Psychologists dismissed it as sleep paralysis, a trick of the half-dreaming mind, the body frozen, the imagination unleashed. But witnesses swore otherwise. They said he moved. They said he leaned closer. They said they could feel his breath. By the 1970s, new voices joined the chorus. Police officers, soldiers, doctors, people not known for superstition. They saw him standing at the foot of their beds, a shape darker than the night around him, a hat that hid his face completely. Yet somehow his gaze was unmistakable, cold, measured, almost human. But what was really happening behind the curtain? In archives across Europe, patterns began to surface. Old diaries, letters written in trembling ink, from the era of the Spanish flu. The words were eerily familiar. The man with the hat watched over my mother's bed. He came when her fever was highest. He left when she stopped breathing. Could he have been a symbol of death itself? Or something else, walking beside it? Folklorists traced the legend further back, into the black soil of medieval superstition. The Hat Man, the Watcher, the Night Bishop, names whispered through centuries. A figure appearing during plague years, famines, wars, moments when fear hung heavier than hope. By the 1990s, the phenomenon returned with new urgency. Home cameras began to record strange silhouettes, dark shapes crossing hallways, standing still for seconds, then vanishing. Victims described identical details: a brimmed hat, broad shoulders, eyes like deep hollows, and the feeling that he was feeding not on flesh, but on fear itself. But how could strangers oceans apart dream the same dream? Neuroscientists in Toronto examined hundreds of cases. Electromagnetic disturbances, they said. The human brain misfires during sleep, creates figures from ancient memory. But when asked why the same figure appeared across generations, they fell silent. Their instruments measured waves, but not the chill that lingered after waking. In the deserts of Arizona, a woman named Clara told her story. She woke one night to see him by her window, his outline sharp against the moonlight. He did not move. She prayed aloud. The next morning her house smelled of burnt cedar, and a mark like a handprint was found on the glass. She never slept in that room again. In Eastern Europe, the legend shifted. They said the Hat Man was a collector of memories, a being trapped between worlds, drawn to those who carried grief too heavy to bear. He would watch until the sorrow consumed them, then take the memory for himself, leaving the person hollow but calm, like a candle burned clean to the wick. But this was only the beginning. Modern investigators linked the phenomenon to global trauma, periods of crisis, pandemics, wars, economic collapse. Whenever humanity trembled, the man in the hat returned, as if he were not a spirit, but a reflection, a shadow cast by our collective fear. In one psychiatric hospital in London, patients suffering from sleep paralysis drew the same shape. A tall figure with a hat and a faint red glow beneath the brim. Doctors locked the sketches away. Years later, a nurse opened the file and found her own drawing already inside. Still no one knows who he is. A demon, a guardian, a fragment of our subconscious. In 2020, as isolation wrapped around the globe, reports surged again. People confined to dark rooms saw him watching. Some said he brought calm. Others said he whispered their names. A mirror image of humanity's loneliness. A figure without origin, without end. He stands still, at the edge of every dream, hat pulled low, eyes unseen, waiting for the next night to fall. And when it does, he will be there again. The man in the hat? Maybe it's not trying to scare us, maybe it's just waiting for the moment we finally see it. If you liked this story, make sure to subscribe for more dark mysteries.